Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent Training. Welcome to our Friday live class where we do a question and answer format. You can type your questions at any time in the chat, and I'll be answering questions people typically ask about words which they find difficult to pronounce, accent patterns they have questions about, sounds, intonation, all sorts of things to help them improve their pronunciation and American accent. You may have been attending recently our Word of the Day series classes. We've been having a short class every day on a particular word. And thank you so much for all of you who have made requests and suggestions for Word of the Day. I have a long list now, and I'm still gathering requests. So if you have a word you'd like to hear me say, you can put that in the comment of this video or any of my videos. Of course, today we'll be answering those live, and the ones that come in later, I'll be creating videos every day for them. So that's been really wonderful because your comments and suggestions help not only you, but other viewers as well. Many people have overlapping questions. We've had a lot of requests for the same or similar words. So today, again, I'll be taking your questions, and if there's a little extra time where we don't have questions, I'll be reviewing some of the recent other requests for Word of the Day. We have a question which says that in a previous video, you said that the I diphthong doesn't actually end in a clear I sound, that the sound is more like a long E sound. And he's asking, or she's asking, does the same apply to the A and Oi diphthongs? What about O and Ow sounds? Do they end in a clear sound? Okay, so good question, all about diphthongs. So we have these 5 diphthongs. We have the I, which is like the word I. And in the dictionary, we'll see it like this, I. And then we have others, Oi, which I would like to think of that way, and A, which I would think of that way, A, so I'm not lining these up very well. And for all of these that have the I in the transcription, I think the same thing applies. I may have more of an E sound, I, Oi, A. It depends on your ear and how you're thinking about how that sounds. The question was whether O and what was the other one? Oh, Ow, whether or not they end in a very pure or could they also go a little bit more towards the tense oo. Ow and O. I think it's questionable whether what the second vowel sound is there. I think the important thing for all of these diphthongs is the movement and the shift from one vowel to the next. I, Oi, A. They all have a closing and a relaxing. O and Ow. When you're trying to say them correctly, I wouldn't fixate so much on which vowels you're doing, but more on that you're going from a more open to a more closed jaw in all of these vowels. They all rise up from a slightly more open to a less open vowel. So I do have some of the diphthongs are covered in my vowel sounds playlist. All of them are covered in general in my vowel sounds playlist. And then I do have some specific videos for specific diphthongs, but I do think that's an area where some additional videos might be helpful. I'm working right now on a new course that is the sounds of English and creating videos for every single sound in English, as well as the common words with those sounds, how to practice, what error patterns to watch out for. A lot of that is already included in my 6-week course, but I'm pulling apart that in even more detail for those of you who have specific sounds that you find you still struggle with. And thank you for bringing that up, because I will include that in upcoming classes and videos as well. Okay, a lot of questions to catch up with. We have a request for how to pronounce terms and sphere. So terms is fairly straightforward. I would say the tricky thing here is that when we add a plural to something ending in the voiced sound, our S needs to be a Z. So that's probably challenging to do the terms. And then also you may have some challenges with the R sound. So you might want to start with and then do term, terms. And then sphere is one that doesn't really follow typical rules for American English for spelling or pronunciation. So sphere, we have to do a S sound and an F sound together. And then we have the ear diphthong. So I would start with ear, and then I would try fear. When I can say fear, I want to just put an S in front of it. Sphere, sphere. So this isn't a very normal combination of sounds in English. Great. And we know PH, of course, it says F also in words like phone. Great. Thank you for that question. We have another request, which is for the word complication. Complication. So I was just working on some words with COM and CON, because depending on where the stress is in the word, the O in these words can say O, it can say ah, or it can say And in complication, it says ah. So we want to think about that as complication. First, primary stress on the K, secondary stress on the com. So we have a clear vowel in these two syllables. The main length comes on the K, complication. And then we have a com. We have an I, reduced I vowel here, complication. And then our TION ending sounds like shun, vowel schwa, complication. So one thing to note here, complication versus complicated, we want to make sure that we have first syllable stress on complicated. These are all short. Complicated versus complication, the stress pattern changes to third syllable in that word. Oftentimes, you may have one or the other pattern in your mind, and you may be using it for both words. And practicing those words together and making sure that you have the correct syllable stress pattern and that it's different in the two versions of the word can be a useful way to work on the pronunciation of those. We have a question if there's a dark L in the words all and alpha. So yes, dark L in all. I have the aw and a little bit of a schwa, all. But in alpha, no. So alpha. I'm trying to check actually myself. Alpha. I would say it's more noticeable in all. Alpha, I think because it's a forward vowel. I don't do as much of the schwa, and I'm going right into another sound. If it were a word like alike, that's clearly a light vowel because it's starting the syllable like. Alpha, L. I guess I do have a dark schwa there. It's just more noticeable to me in all because the vowel is back. Alpha, it's not as pronounced of a dark L because the vowel was in the front. Let's see. Okay, we have a question about the words narrate, narration, narrative, and narrator. This is a great question, right on topic with what we were talking about with complication and complicated. And so let's look at these words and what changes in all of the different iterations between narrate, narration, narrative, and narrator. So I would say the main thing to watch out for, you're going to have to be able to pronounce the sounds in all of these, but once you have gotten them for one of the versions of the word, you'll be able to do it with all of them. So really watching out for where the stress happens is going to be the main distinction between these. In the word narrate, I have first syllable stress, and it sounds like an air diphthong, narrate, and an A vowel, narrate. The spelling is pretty clear what we do, except that the NARR could look like an R and it's an air, narrate. First syllable. Then we have narration, second syllable stress. So already a change. Narrate versus narration. I'm going to stretch out on the A. So I still have the same sounds, but my A is long and my other sounds are short. Then I have narrative, back to first syllable stress, narrative. And this A says schwa, so more like nar, tiv. Watch out for the voiced V at the end. And then narrator, again, first syllable stress, narrator. And this is narrator. In American English, we're going to use a flap T there. And this OR says the ER sound, narrator. So one more time, narrate, narration, narrative, and narrator. So yeah, the A's do change what vowel they have depending on syllable stress. Great. So hopefully that helped you with that series of words. That's a good idea, or was a good suggestion, because it illustrates what's happening where when syllable stress changes, vowels can change as well. If you're wondering about vowels in general and how to read those symbols, you might want to check out my vowels playlist, because I go through and give you examples for each of the vowel sounds. I give you anchor words to compare to, and I show you how to read those symbols in the dictionary so that you can begin to look at the sounds in the word rather than relying on the spelling. You can see that in those words we had lots of letter A's and letter O's, and they said different things in the different words. So I can't look at an A and know what it's going to be. If I can look it up in the dictionary, listen to it, look for my symbol, one sound, that's really helpful and useful in correcting pronunciation on vowels specifically, but overall in words, because it does matter for where the syllable gets stressed. Those stressed syllables often have the clear vowel versus the unstressed syllables, which often have the reduced vowel sounds like and I. Great. We have a question whether the dark L can turn into a light L in words like feel versus feeling, or I can feel it. Yes, definitely. So in the word feel, I'm using a dark L. It's kind of like feel. But in the word feeling, it's more like feeling. And the ling is a light L because it starts the syllable feeling. I can go really slowly, feeling. And that doesn't really sound correct. So if I'm saying just feel, dark L, but feeling, also if I'm saying something like, it feels like, it feels like, I guess doesn't work because I don't do an L. You had a better example. Yeah, feel it. I feel it. There, I feel it. I would probably say it becomes more like feel it. And for many people, that's easier to say, I feel it. Because it does link, it becomes more of the start of a syllable. And then the feel is shorter. I don't really want to say I feel it. It adds an extra syllable and an extra sound. So depending on the context, you're right. The L can change between a dark L and a light L. And sometimes it's a little unclear which is which. In these cases, dark L, and light L. That's a great suggestion. And one of the things I often try to do to help people get their dark L is have them say another word starting with L or a word starting with a vowel, so they can feel that when they say feeling, they can move their tongue into the L position so that it doesn't get left off, but they still are doing a dark L in words like feel. All right, Susan would like to know how to pronounce the dark L before the stressed version of schwa in words like pulse, cult, skull. Should I pronounce the stressed schwa and later the dark L, ol? So pulse, yeah, cult, and skull. I think you're really just doing one schwa there, because I don't really want to have pulse, cult. Yeah, so basically you can you're still staying in the dark L with the same position, but I just have one schwa sound. Cult, pulse, skull. Yeah, that's a tough one. But when you can do that, you're really definitely making the dark L, because we need to hear a difference between the schwa in when there's an L following it. We need to hear a difference in that L versus in a different type of L where there's no schwa. Great. These are really tough questions. I find the dark L a little bit difficult to teach and talk about because I can hear when it sounds different. And usually for helping people change it, it's really helpful for me to hear what they're doing, ask them to try different things, moving their tongue, because people have different ways of creating that sound. I think for the dark L, really using your ear and trying to listen to it to see if what you're saying sounds different from what you're hearing, and try to match the sound whatever way you can with moving your tongue tends to be helpful. We have a question about the word during. Which of these two sounds is more natural to you? During with a schwa or during with an u as in food? I don't think I do either of those. I think I do more like during. I do the sound that's in like push and could. Or I just go right to my my vowel during. During the day. Yeah. I do sometimes hear people say during. That sounds a little bit more British, maybe East Coast English, maybe Canadian English as well. In the dictionary, I think you might see it like this one, could, during, push. I also think earning. I'm just trying to think of other erring words. Stirring. I say it the same. I use that during and stirring. I would use curing. That has a y sound. Okay, so yeah, I would say for me, definitely not during, definitely not an sound. Although you may see some dictionaries write it this way, and I think when they write that, they're talking that's their way of transposing the sound, or transcribing, I mean, the sound. So thinking about it as having the turn, during, is probably the good way to go. You'll also see sometimes transcribed that way. So in the dictionary, I would say if you see this, it's not because you should be doing during. And if you see during, that tense vowel is probably a little bit extreme. You're going to be best off with our sound, trying to go directly to it. So next question, is the letter D in trudging silent? Yes, the DG in trudging is just the same as in a word like edge or judge. It's a way to represent the sound j, which at the beginnings of words we spell with letter J. So if I was going to write this sound by sound, I might have trudging. The D is a part of making the j sound. My tongue goes to the D position and it releases into the j. This is a continuing sound. It just does it as an affricate. So shortening the j to just being released right from the D, j. So technically, is it silent? I'm not sure. I think this is a way to represent one sound that can help you to make that sound correctly. Yeah, that's a good question. I have quite a few videos about the j sound, where it is in the middle of words, beginning and ends of words, and places recently we've talked about in class about how it gets hidden in some words. For example, words like graduate. So that actually does have the same j sound, even though we spell it with a DU. So in American English, graduate, versus other dialects of English may say this more like graduate, but we have the J sound in that word. We have a question about how to pronounce reservations. So in this word, we have third syllable stress, reservations. I want to lengthen on the ve. We have vowel e in the beginning, like in red reservations, reser. This S says a Z, and then we just have our vowel reser, ve, and then finally our tion does our shun. And because the N is voiced, when we add an S to it, it says the Z sound, reservations. Reservations. If you find it hard to put that Z on the end, you might try saying reservations are, and it's easier to keep the voice on and do the Z when I'm linking to the next word are. Yeah. I wonder if many people are making reservations these days. Not so many places to be making reservations, not a lot of restaurants, or many people are not making flight reservations yet either. We have a question about how to pronounce hidden. Hidden. This is a good example of a syllabic N. So I pretty much don't do very much of a vowel there. I go right from my D to my N. If there's any vowel, it's just a little small schwa sound. I have the I vowel and first syllable stress. So hidden, hidden. Trying to think about just going right from my D to my N. Hidden, hidden. I don't really release that D, so it's not hidden. There's no release of air. I just move from the D position into the N position. Hidden, hidden. It's similar to words like cotton and mountain, where I go right from the T to the N. I do have a video and a lesson about syllabic N on the website and here on the channel page. I'll just show you how you can find these types of lessons when you go to speechmodification.com. If you go into the free practice and you click on the free online practice free trial, you'll see that there's a search box at the top. So for this, I'm going to just search on syllabic N, or I could probably just search on N and I would see all of the lessons related to that. So here's a challenge lesson about syllabic L, American L. And then here's a lesson about final N. And so we can see all of the different things that the N does at the ends of words. There's usually videos and additional links to take you. And that's all for free on speechmodification.com. Also, if you're looking for something specific, a specific video, a specific type of lesson, you can always leave a comment on any of my videos and I will send you the link directly so you don't have to find it. I think it's great to use these resources to help support and to hear again some of the things that you've been asking about in class. Sometimes it takes hearing your particular words or learning about similar words for your brain to be able to shift and change and understand the concepts. And especially when it comes to hearing and listening, usually having good models helps us hear those sounds and helps remove some layers of that accent filter. So our accent does act as a filter on our hearing as well as our speaking because of the way sounds work in our native language and the way our brain can interpret sounds. Great. Okay, so we have questions about the words situation, government, and all right. Situation is a great one because a lot of people miss the hidden sound in this word as well. So just like graduate or graduation, situation also has a hidden CH sound. Ch. So I often hear situation and I really want to hear situation. So if I have vowel I, the sit ch is mostly just the ch sound. You can put the T in there, situation, but it's stopped and really I don't need it. I can just say situation. Then I have you. That's the other thing with this is that the U has a Y sound. So it sounds like the word you. I don't just want sit chew. I want you, sit chew, a shun, back to our final shun sound. Your other words were government, and in this case, we have a vowel schwa, first syllable stress, government, and the vowel schwa sounds like so thinking about it as G-U-V might help you say that sound correctly. Ignoring that it's an O and thinking government. The challenge there is making sure I have both my earn with an N and then moving into my ment with an M, government. Lastly, your last word was all right. That one's pretty straightforward. It's just like our all with our dark L, and right, same as R-I-T-E, I sound, all right. First syllable stress. That's all right with me. All right, let's look at a few more questions. We're running a little bit short on time, so I may not be able to get to everyone's questions today, but thank you so much for all of the wonderful questions. If I don't have time to answer everyone's question, I'll check back and see what things you asked and leave some comments for you afterwards in the video so you can find answers and resources. And of course, we'll be back again next week at the same time, so I'll try to make sure that we cover your information as well. We have a follow-up on the word during. Is the pronunciation of the first syllable with the a bit like the initial syllable in puree, pure. It is, except that in puree, I have a y sound, pure. So it's kind of like pia, pure, versus during. You don't want during. That would be more a British style. So puree in English, but during. During is more British. So leave that w out, and then you have it. Another request for schedule and comparison. So schedule was our word of the day earlier this week. So I'm going to say go to the YouTube channel and look on our word of the day playlist, and you'll find my video for schedule. Talk about the British versus the English, but we'll talk about comparison. There's one of our O's that doesn't say O because it's not stressed. So we have air is our stressed syllable. The AR in this word is an air diphthong. And then our unstressed first syllable sounds like vowel schwa, So not com or comparison, but comparison. Comparison. Again, I'm going to change, even though we pronounce this sun the same way, I'm going to write it like S-U-N, same pronunciation. But again, I don't want an O there. I want a schwa, comparison. So all of these are short, reduced syllables. Reduce vowels and shorten syllables. Comparison. That's almost like I don't say a vowel there at all. I almost go right from the S to the N sound. Comparison. Okay, great. We have another request or question about the word sure. Diamond Fighter is saying sometimes it sounds like the word sure, other times like the word shirt without the T. You're just going to hear different people pronouncing this word differently. I also will hear something more like sure with an oo, sure. I personally say the one that's sure like shirt, and shore. You probably hear that as well. It's maybe more of a regional variant. I would go either with sure like shirt or sure with a bit of an oo or an sound like you're saying. Yeah, so according to the dictionary, it's an sound. So I think you're using a dictionary that represents the sound like this. I don't think you need to worry about trying to do the vowel there. Just think about it as an and think about it like sure. Same thing as in shirt without the T. I think that's going to be the most consistently American pronunciation of it, and hopefully the easiest one for you to do as well, and accurate. It's exactly how I say it. So that the dictionary showing it like that is just a way that they're trying to tell you to do and people have different dictionaries have different symbols for it. So it can be kind of confusing. So thanks for bringing that up. I think for a lot of people who are trying to use dictionary resources, determining what symbols are used in the dictionary that you're using and how they actually sound, and then worrying a little less about what the vowel symbol they use is with the R diphthong, so that you're just thinking of it in the way that helps you pronounce it correctly. I try to be consistent and use similar symbols to the Oxford Learner's Dictionary, both in my videos and on my website, but I will also always rewrite the words with most conventional spelling so that people who don't use the same dictionary, don't necessarily know the IPA symbols, or don't write the IPA symbols the same way as I do, have another means to understand the sounds. Again, this is something that I cover in a lot of detail in my vowels playlist and in my individual vowel sounds. Also for the sounds in my American R playlist, so you can check that out. Okay, let's see. I'm going to have to sign off, but I'm going to just very briefly say your last few words so that so that you get your question answered, because I really appreciate everyone coming and asking all these great questions. So we had a question about the word vegetable. The most common error I hear there is that people want to say vegetable because it looks like that. You want to leave off that second E and just say vegetable. I do have a video about that. So if you use the search tools, either on my website or on my channel page, just type in vegetable and you'll see my video explaining that. We also had a question about congratulate and congratulations, and digest and digestion. So for congratulate, I'd like to congratulate. Here's another one of our hidden CH sounds. The TU says ch, congratulate, and another schwa in the beginning, so an sound. Vowel a in the grat, that's the long syllable, congratulate, and a clear A in the final syllable, congratu. This is another one that says kind of a U sound, congratulate. And then your other word, congratulations, changes. So my stress comes off of the second syllable and moves to the lay. So congratulate, congratulations. And your other pair was digest and digestion. So in this case, same syllable stress, digest. We have the I diphthong, vowel e, digest and digestion. When I add the on, because I have a T, instead of digestion, I get a ch, digestion. Great. Those are good suggestions. Suggestion and digestion, similar words. We have covered some similar words in the Word of the Day series, and we have many more to come because of your wonderful requests and suggestions, both from my Facebook viewers and those of you here on YouTube. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I suggest you might want to do that, because then you'll see my content when you're browsing on your homepage on YouTube. And you can use the little bell for notifications to ask YouTube to notify you when I have a live class or when I've uploaded a new video, or you can keep that turned off if you prefer not to get notifications. It's all under your control, but as a subscriber, you get to see my community page, quizzes, and other information that will YouTube will show you and say, oh, is this something you might be interested in? So it helps me know what you're interested in as well if you subscribe. Thank you so much for being here today. And I'm really happy to have so many regular attendees in this class. It's a wonderful thing to be able to offer during this difficult time when many of us are home. And I know many of you are working on trying to improve communication, improve American English, and I'm happy to be a part of that. Thanks so much for your time today, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for our word of the day class, which will be on the words luxury and luxurious, talking about a couple of different options for pronouncing those words. We'll be back throughout next week, every day with our word of the day class, and on Friday with our question and answer class. Thanks so much, everybody. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound American, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, guys. See you next week.